Hey guys, welcome back. Hope you're doing well. Raccoon MMA here. Not a picks video. I just figured I'd jump on and make a little quick video. Um, you know, Belal Muhammad is the welterweight champion of the world in the UFC. Uh, I'm a little bit of a fan. I think that this is a guy who's gotten a lot of hate for a long time. So I just wanted to hop on and make a little bit of a video about why I like him and why I think you should like him. As I said in my very first video that I made on this channel, I always like to have a little bit of positivity. I think that people hate too easily in the mixed martial arts and especially the UFC sort of community fandom, whatever you want to call it. Um, I like to be a bit more positive, maybe because I'm Canadian, maybe I don't know, but I just wanted to make a little bit of a positive video. You'll probably notice that I never really talk trash about fighters unless they really deserve it, like actual bad people like John Jones and Sean Strickland. Um, I just figured I'd make this video. Bilal Muhammad is the. This isn't really scripted. I just figured I'd hop on and do this. I just kind of threw some slides together in 5 minutes and figured I made it because Bilal is the champ. Basically, everyone picked against him, but he is the champion, which means his next fight will be for the title. Even if he loses, he's going to be in the title picture for a while. I think even if you're not a fan, even if you want to hate him, even if you do hate him, you're gonna have to live with him, and so maybe it's gonna be healthier and less stressful for you to like him. So take it from a pro, someone who likes him already. I'm not someone who has his merch. I'm not like a super fan. He's not like Dustin Poirier or Alexa Grasso, where I've like merch, where I've paid money to these people for clothes with them on it. But he's someone that I like and I've liked for a little bit. So yeah, take it from a pro at liking Belal. Here's how you do it. Here's why you should. Obviously it's a nice underdog story that he's won. But let's get into sort of why he's special. Yeah, I think the underdog aspect is really cool. Just to start off, right? This is a screenshot from my picks video for UFC 304. If you go back and watch it and ignore the audio issues, sorry about those guys, you'll find that I basically lay out exactly. I say here's how Belal could win, and I lay out exactly how he did win. Right? I'm like, well, Leon's a rangier guy. He likes to set up the perfect shot. And if Belal, as he's wanting to do, really gets in his face, pressures him, mixes in the wrestling and the clinching and things like that, then he could really get in his head and Leon will give up and Belal will win. But then I go ahead and I say, well, low confidence, but Leon's winning because Leon's just that good, right? Even me as like a fan and someone who could in my head conceptualize exactly how Belal was going to win this fight, still went ahead and picked Leon because there was just no belief in this guy, right? Like nobody thought that he was going to be able to do this except for him, and I think that that's kind of beautiful, right? Like even the people who wanted him to win, like me, when I was watching it, I was with my brother, I was with some of his friends, and the way I screamed when Belal picked Leon up in that first round and slammed him on the ground, like I was so happy for him. I was really cheering for him, but even then I was like, Belal is not winning this fight. And yet he did. And I think that that's, just something that warrants a bit of respect, right? That even though nobody believed in him, he believed in himself. He had the mindset to go out there and focus against a really good fighter in Leon Edwards, by the way. Like, no disrespect to this guy, to dominate him and become champion. I think the other thing here, too, is like everyone laughed at him, too, right? It wasn't just that nobody thought he would win, right? This wasn't like some Sean Strickland situation or an Alexa Grasso situation where people were like, well, obviously this like great champion is going to beat this low down contender who is only really getting a title shot because of timing, right? Because the real contenders, the real threats to the title reign aren't able to fight or haven't quite earned a shot or whatever, right? Sean Strickland only got the shot because Dricus was injured. Alexa Grasso only got the shot because Manafial was injured. And Belal only got the shot because Shavkat doesn't really fight all that much, right? But like people laughed at him, right? And I don't want to single out this Twitter account. It's just this is something that I happened to see when I was looking back. That people really like to hate on him. People really like to gas up his failures. People really like. I mean, I saw edits of this guy losing with like funny music and stuff like that. And obviously, this happens to everybody, like a lot of fighters. But if you're ever on MMA Twitter, MMA Instagram, or whatever, you will see Belal like clown edits, or you would have. Maybe that's going to change now because he's beaten Leon Edwards, but it was common, right? So it is not just that people said you can't do it. People thought that this guy was a joke, and yet he still went out there and beat a really good champion, right? Leon Edwards, a guy who dominated Colby Covington, a guy who beat Kamaru Usman twice, right? A guy who dominated. I mean, Nate Diaz isn't great, but he dominated Nate Diaz and blah blah blah, right? And I think that like probably the MMA community is just a little bit nasty at everybody, especially since COVID, as I mentioned. But I think that Belal kind of specifically got it, and again, the fact that he was able to shut out the noise and believe in himself when no one else did, and go out there and win is just amazing. And I think that what makes this even cooler is that like Belal is not special. I've put these three people up here: Jack Della Maddalena, Islam Makhachev, and Shavkat Rakhmonov, for three different reasons, right? Because all three of them have something that Belal doesn't have. Jack Della Maddalena has a supreme talent for boxing, right? People were laughing at at Belal when his coaches were saying, well, he has hands like Canelo, and then he went out there and outboxed Leon. Did he do that because he's supreme boxing talent like Jack Della Maddalena? No, not at all. He did that because he worked hard, right? He's been training in the Nurmagomedov camp, but he didn't start there like Islam. Islam grew up in the Nurmagomedov school, right? Islam grew up in Dagestan. He's wrestled since he's a kid. He has that lineage, right? He comes from a long reign of combat sambo and sports sambo specialists, of wrestling specialists, from a region where fighting is basically the national sport, right? In the same way that it would be special for a German to do really well in hockey, it's really special for someone who's not from a kind of a fighting culture to do well in fighting. Whereas like Islam, I don't want to deny Islam's talent. Islam's one of my favorite fighters, right? He's brilliant, but he did have that advantage of growing up in a fighting environment. And the third thing that Belal doesn't have is any physical attributes whatsoever, right? You look at Shavkat Rakhmonov, that guy is ridiculously tall for his weight, and he's ridiculously rangy for his weight, and he uses that all to his advantage to win fights, right? Where Shavkat misses out on like the finer aspects of his striking, where someone like JDM would be really good at boxing, he makes up for it just by using his range and being good at using his range because he's got that physical aspect. Belal has none of that. He's an exactly average size guy for welterweight. He doesn't have that special explosivity that someone like Michael Chandler has at lightweight. He doesn't have the grip strength that someone like Islam has at lightweight. He's not special, right? He's got nothing going for him. What he has is, as I mentioned, that mindset to shut out the noise and keep working. And he's just worked hard, right? For 2 decades, he's worked hard and lost almost no fights because he works hard. And he's, at the age of 36, he's broken the 35 plus curse to become champion of the world, not through anything special, like these next 2 people he will face, unless Kamaru Usman puts himself back in the title picture, or Islam decides he wants to fight Belal. But just because he works hard. And I think that's really great, because that means that you could do it too, right? And I think that that's admirable, right? As much as we were like, wow, I love these cool spinning kicks that Shavkat does to keep people at range. As much as we're like, wow, Islam's reactive wrestling is so good and his cage work is so good. As much as we're like, wow, Jack Della Maddalena's boxing is so spectacular. And I don't want to take anything away from those guys because they're all amazing fighters in their own right. One of them's a champion. 2 of them have very good shots of being champion. Belal has everything he has, not because he walks in with something special about him, but just because he's worked hard for 2 decades. And I think that that's so cool. And I don't want to get into politics, right? I think that, just like a disclaimer, if you have a cultural identity or a religious identity or a national identity that may be at odds with this, that's totally your right. No disrespect to you. You know, everybody has value, but it is undeniable that Bilal's people, the Palestinian people, are suffering right now. And they've been suffering for a long time, right? Without getting into why, without getting into my opinions on it, maybe I don't have any. Maybe I do, right? Maybe my opinions are the opposite. I'm not going to talk about them. It is undeniable that Bilal's people have been suffering, and now he can stand up in front of the world with their flag and say, my success is for you guys. That everything I do is to sort of give you that inspiration to keep getting up and keep standing up for yourselves. And I think that that's really nice, right? It's, a lot of people come from tough backgrounds in this sport and in any sport, because sports are kind of the great equalizer, right? In the way that soccer brings people out of poverty. And MMA sort of allows, in the way that it allowed Leon Edwards to deal with all his trauma from his upbringing, and now it allows Belal to stand up and put a spotlight on his people. And that's really nice, and something that I think, regardless of what your opinions are, if you have any, what your sort of cultural, religious, ethnic, national identity is, you should be able to get behind. Because he just is standing up for his family and his friends and his relatives and the people around him. And I think that's really beautiful. And the fact that he's been able to do this because of his hard work and his dedication and his mentality is even better. He's not just some influencer, right? He's not someone who's put an infographic on their Instagram story and it's just happened to hit. He's worked harder than almost anybody else on this planet, and now he can stand up there in front of the world with his flag. And now he has the money to bring refugees over to America and give them better lives than they had. And I think that that's absolutely brilliant, and you should too. And finally, he just seems like a good guy. He's nice to people, he gives free self-defense classes to women. And by the way, like, you can see in the comments here that people are trying to clown him for giving free self-defense classes to women, because this is before he became champion. People are laughing at him, as I mentioned, right? But it's nice to support people who try and do good in the world, and people who aren't, antagonists. If you're like, well, I want to cheer for John Jones, you're obviously not going to do it for his personality. You're going to do it for his fighting, right? Although that's harder and harder to justify these days too. But yeah, Belal, like, he puts good into the world. And it just feels good to support good people. And it also just feels good to be positive, right? I was cheering for Belal. I don't have to hate Leon. I don't have to go on Twitter and be like, Leon's trash. Leon's a perfectionist. Leon's so slow. He only throws 57 strikes a fight and he's garbage. Like, I would never say anything like that, because it's just better to be positive. So yeah, I think that it's probably just healthier to support Belal in that sense. So anyways, quick little video there. I've got another idea coming up, so hopefully you should get another one soon. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. If I'm missing something big as to why you should support Belal, if I'm missing something big as to why you shouldn't, do let me know in the comments. If you like the video and subscribe. If you don't like the video and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.